So I'm still deeply committed to all of my communications work. As you can tell, like I can't not love it.
I have not noticed that you're passionate about this. I haven't noticed. I think you're kind of bored with this point in your life. No, you're like
I can't
crazy.
shake it. It's crazy. Yeah.
It's crazy good
Um,
though.
but I took a sabbatical, kind of a self-funded working sabbatical a handful of years ago. And I did something that I had threatened to do years and years ago at a dinner table, which was I went to auctioneering school for fun because years before I had done a fundraising auction for my kids' preschool because none of the other mommies and daddies and caregivers were at all interested in standing in front of a room of a couple of hundred people with a mic in their hands. Like they were like, make Dia do it. Easy for me, right? I mean, not easy, but
Make Dia do it. All right, keep going.
so I did it. And at dinner, I was a couple of weeks later, I was like, you know what? We were talking about bucket list stuff. And I was like, what if you know, I would do that someday. Like I'd learn how to actually be an auctioneer. So 10 years later, I'm on sabbatical and my husband's like, well, maybe now's the time you go do that thing you said you'd do. And so I got in an airplane and me and 100 cowboys learned how to auctioneer, all the things. And I was like, I'm not going to make this into a job. What am I doing? And when I got back to the Bay Area, I started doing as an impact hobby fundraising auctioneering for women-led nonprofits and nonprofits that benefit women and girls, because that's, one place my heart is, drawn to. And a couple of dozen fundraisers later, I'm like kind of getting my feet under me and kind of seeing how it operates and starting to glean some insights from it because I can't help it. I'm fairly interdisciplinary in the work that I do. I want to draw from everything, What can a painting class teach me about communication? I'm just like, it's all, two great tastes that taste great together for me. And I was coming home one evening from a summit. I'm active in the world of advancing women in entrepreneurship and in the workplace. And I was like, gosh, all of these folks that I mentor and work with that are even outside of my practice, just communities I engage with, if they could all stop asking like we usually do, because here's what happens. Clients come to me, and I'll talk more about this at the summit. Clients come to me and they're like, I have a really critical thing coming up. I got to tell a great story. I got to do a pitch. And always I have to ask, okay, what are you asking for? Like, what do you want from your audience, right? Think about it. In business speak, we'd say, CTA, what's your call to action, right? And the answer I always get back from folks is like, well, Dia, how much do you think I could get? And for years, I was like, oh my gosh, great question. And we'd go for that. But actually, and then we get a yes, and we thought we were awesome. But actually, once I started auctioneering, I saw that the way we ask as auctioneers inevitably makes it so that you ask and get more of the thing that you need. And I was like, oh, if we could stop asking like we have been doing and start asking like an auctioneer, everyone would get more of what they need to reach their goals faster. And I had a model in my mind, like, here's what I mean. And I drew it out. A couple of weeks later, I had a chance to test the idea in front of an audience at a meetup in Silicon Valley. It was like 65 people in the room. And I was like, your job is to tell me, I'm going to share this with you, what I mean by ask like an auctioneer. And your job is to tell me if it sucks or not. And everyone was like, whoa. And so I kept going, and we turned it into a workshop and sort of an initiative as it bolted on as a sidecar to the business around leadership communications. I was like, I'm just so compelled by this idea. And it turned into a keynote and a workshop, and this year it'll be a book. And the idea is a new mental model for what it means, the way in which you can ask like an auctioneer, which is to aim for no, not a yes. As an auctioneer, we have to get a no before we can sell anything.
I would say the negotiation for at least my clients, the lawyers I help all the time, is that they've forgotten to negotiate for that great life. They've forgotten to negotiate for everything else other than on behalf of a client. They've forgotten themselves in equations because they're so committed to that one endeavor, so to speak.
So Project Ask Like an Auctioneer is originally launched. There's nothing inherently gendered in the content itself, but because we know that only 4% or less, it's actually backslid since the pandemic. Under 4% of VC funding goes to women-led ventures. We know that the pay gap, for example, there's representation at executive level, et cetera. And I don't know what the gender makeup looks like in sort of influential and leadership voices in the legal world. I can't wait to learn from you and from your community on sort of what that looks like. But I'm really interested in advocating for underrepresented folks in their industries. Again, nothing gendered about the content itself. However, because I've been in so many rooms with women around this content, a lot of folks have told me I have no problem. And this is folks who are in-house counsel, people who are architects, people who are, product managers, agile specialists, data scientists, like pick an industry, brand managers, designers, like, come on. They say, I have no problem, selling a multi-million-dollar contract on behalf of my company. But boy, when I go to ask for that raise or an opportunity to stand up at my all hands or a chance to moderate the panel with the influential product leads in our organization or, ask for that mentorship, I just clam up. And so there's this interesting idea that I learned from auctioneering school, less from the stage, that I use myself to help me ask for more and get it on behalf of the organization when I'm standing in front of the room and even in my own practice. Because while I'm not a lawyer, there's a part of my business that is a practice,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Is the notion, when you're an auctioneer, we're taught you are not the buyer, you are not the seller, you are an agent. So I've applied that into business and life and in my fundraising auctioneering to say, Dia, you are an agent for your purpose. So if folks listening to this podcast can think about the why or the driver of what they're building, and then lend their voice to that and advocate for it like you're advocating for a client, grow the practice, have a particular impact, generate a certain revenue, grow lawyers under you to a bank of 10 leads that you can trust, spend a month holiday every single year with your family, whatever it is that you're designing for. And then think of yourself as an agent and act on its behalf. Sometimes that can give us just enough space from the ask we're making to make that ask.
What you're doing is creating a whole framework with like steps, like stage. So this is what I think my goal is, what I think I'm trying to do, the $500,000 in revenue. And you kind of create steps. And then when you're there, once you kind of outline that path, then you create the ask. And so you're
Correct.
creating the ask with a framework so that you're pushing yourself on the ask, so to speak.
Well, you're making it super concrete for yourself. You know why the hell you're making it, and you can build a story out of that. Now, the other thing that is really critical for folks is to understand that, if you're stuck and like, I don't know, what might I ask for, that there are 4 pillars of asking, talking to hundreds and hundreds of people around this project. There are sort of, I know I'm doing a lot of teaching, Steve. Folks, either sorry or not sorry, I'm doing a lot of teaching here. There's 4 categories that most asks can fall in: money and financial resources, capital, investment, budget, a raise, dollars, whatever. Project fees, retainers, your hourly rate, I don't know, money. But there are 3 other categories I noticed that a lot of asks fall into. The second one is around authority. So that is, you think of like title. Maybe I had one woman come through my workshop. She wanted to move from full-time in-house to part-time contractor 1099 so she could start her real estate business. Hers was about having authority over her time. Okay.
Autonomy.
So authority.
Autonomy, yes, or authority?
It's authority. I position it as authority. It could also mean a promotion. So you are the one who signs off on stuff. Decision-making power is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
To be the author of your own life, or to or to be the author of a particular business strategy because you are the ordained leader in that space. You actually have the authority. You are the approver.
Gotcha.
And the third category is about influence. Might you need more influence in order to action your move to get to your goal? And that's about access to networks, mentorship,
help. I need help.
Visibility in your industry.
I need help.
And then the fourth one is balance, which is not about work-life balance. It's about how do I bring into balance the work I'm doing and who I am. Maybe there are, legal minds listening to this podcast right now who are like, I'm done with family law. I've been done with it for 5 years and I can't, I want to get over there into immigration law, or I want to get over that. I don't know, help me, Steve.